So a right is something that you can do without asking. A privilege is something that someone or some entity of higher authority allows you to do. For example, I can walk out of my house onto my land. I can walk back and forth on my land all day long, and there's no reason for me to ask anybody for permission. I have a right to walk on my land. If I want to walk across your land, perhaps to go to the store or take a shortcut, I have to get your permission. And on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you may grant me that permission because we're neighbors. And on Thursday, for any reason that you come up with, you can deny that permission. You can revoke the privilege. And on that day, then I would have to walk around, and take the long route. So rights and privileges are opposites. We, the people, are endowed by our Creator with unalienable rights. They cannot have limits put on them. We, the people, grant government privileges. Article 1, Section 1, Clause 1 of the Constitution, the first active clause of the Constitution, says that all legislative powers herein granted. Well, if legislative powers are granted, they are privileges. All legislative powers are privileges granted to the government, and we, the people, can, at any point in time, revoke those privileges. And that's the meaning in the Declaration of Independence behind to alter or abolish it. We can, if we think that it is necessary, to eliminate our government completely and to start again from scratch if necessary. Believe it or not, the United States is actually operating as a communist government. We have the 10 Commandments, we have the 10 Bill of Rights, and just before the war between the states, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels wrote a thesis known as the Communist Manifesto. And within the Communist Manifesto, they have 10 planks, 10 ideas or concepts which they felt were critical or crucial to building what they referred to as the perfect communist government. And those ideas and principles identify what communism is. The first principle is to abolish the idea of private property. If there is no private property, then the government is control of everything that you own or that you thought you owned, and they control all of the material wealth. Since the Constitution is designed to protect your life, liberty, and private property, communism is the antithesis of the Constitution. Communism and the Constitution are opposites, like true and false, black and white. We have the Constitution and communism. The first plank tells us what communism is trying to do: eliminate private property. And planks 2 through 10 explain exactly how communism plans to accomplish that. The second plank of the Communist Manifesto is a progressive income tax. Progressive meaning that the more money you make, the more profit you acquire, the higher the percentage the government will take. And so it's a sliding scale, basically to prevent you from becoming too profitable or too wealthy. Number 5 on the Communist Manifesto is a central bank. We want to control all of the money. And here in the United States, the Federal Reserve does exactly that. Congress was given the responsibility of coining money, and the Constitution specifically mentions gold and silver. The Constitution does not give Congress the authority to print money. It does not give Congress the authority to transfer that responsibility to another organization, which it has done in 1913 with the Federal Reserve Act, giving a private corporation the presumed authority to print money out of thin air. It's an authority that Congress did not have and therefore could not give and couldn't have given even if Congress had it. And so the Federal Reserve Act is completely, totally unconstitutional and communist. The 10th plank of the Communist Manifesto is government control of schools. If we teach our children the ideals and principles of communism when they are young, they will grow up to believe that communism is a legitimate form of government, and that is the way things are supposed to happen. And the California state legislature has just passed a law which not only permits the California schools to teach communism to our children, but actually encourages it. Since communism and the Constitution are antithetical, the last thing that we want to do is to teach children about communism as though it is a valid form of government. If you want to teach children that communism is evil and explain to them why it is evil, then I am certainly in favor of it. But if we go through the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto, we will discover, much to our surprise and much to my horror, that all 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto are being instituted in the United States at this very moment. And if we are exercising all 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto, we are acting as a communist country, and therefore I contend, whether we call the United States a communist country or not, it is actually, in fact, operating under communism. The writ of habeas corpus. Habeas corpus is a right, and habeas corpus is Latin for, turn over the body. Now, if and when you should be detained and incarcerated by the government has, accused you of violating some crime, and they are going to put you in jail. It is possible that you committed a crime, but it is equally possible that you are innocent. And because the United States claims to be a free country, we claim to be the beacon of liberty, we understand that there has to be a legitimate due process of law. We have to have a strategy, a procedure for examining the evidence and determining the truth of whether or not you committed a crime. And that's what a jury trial is supposed to be about. Habeas corpus, again, is a Latin term meaning show us the body. So what it does is to guarantee this legitimate procedure of due process of law. It is intended to prevent the government from taking you in secret, putting you in a star chamber, which is a phrase meaning that you are interrogated in secret by the government. You don't have assistance for your counsel for defense, and you could literally be put into a torture chamber. You could be waterboarded. They can beat you. The stereotypical bright light and a rubber hose, and they can coerce you with physical force and induce you to give a confession which is not legitimate, and they could equally murder you behind closed doors and keep it a secret. The idea of habeas corpus is that the government is a powerful use of force that must be modified and controlled by the people. Habeas corpus is an idea that if you are incarcerated, while we may not be able to get you out of jail, because there is a possibility that you did commit the crime that you were accused of, we do have a right to know which jail you are in, to have the right to talk to you privately. You have a right to confer with your an attorney or the assistance of counsel for your defense, and you have a right to build a legitimate defense against the accusations of the government.